All right. Let's get rocking and rolling here. 12:04. This is just a half-hour presentation. We are talking today about the walking, working, and surfaces update, preparing for the 2036 ladder updates. That's going to be here in 11 short years. So thanks for being here. A couple quick housekeeping things I'll remind towards the end as well. This one's going for AIA credit. So if you would like to receive continuing education units for this webinar, just shoot me an email after this, or you can drop it in the chat. One of my colleagues is monitoring the chat. He'll make sure that you get credit for it. We'll answer most of the questions towards the end. I do think that there will be quite a bit of questions on this particular topic. So a lot of nuances to this one. Hoping to leave at least 10 minutes for that. So I'm hoping to make my presentation a little shorter, leave more time for Q&A. So please stick around for that. And with that, we'll get going. Yeah, introducing myself, my name is Michael McCarty. I'm Chief Safety Officer at Edge Fall Protection. QR code in the bottom. If you want to connect with me, feel free. Edge, we're a turnkey fall protection provider. We're based in Minnesota. We provide design, engineering, material, installation, fall protection and access solutions across the United States. So pretty much all types of fall protection solutions, and then stairs, ladders, crossover platforms, that sort of thing. So we get you up to heights and keep you safe while you're up there. Our specialty is really rooftop fall protection. That's where we do the majority of our work. So providing active or passive fall protection solutions there. And we do quite a bit of overhead fall protection solutions as well. So overhead horizontal lifelines, overhead rigid rail systems, airplane hangars, rail cars, people working on conveyance systems, that sort of thing. Working in all types of industries, really industry agnostic. If you have a building, you probably need some sort of fall protection. If you have employees, you probably need some sort of safety. So we're here to help however we can. Great. So what we're talking about today, we'll talk about the regulating agencies. Really briefly, we want to talk about the ladder code updates, some of the challenges that we're seeing, some of the solutions that we have, and then practical compliance options, followed by, as I mentioned before, that Q&A. Great. So important safety codes to start off with. I think most of us are probably familiar with OSHA and ANSI. OSHA, these are the two agencies who really impact the regulations we're talking about today. OSHA, run by the Department of Labor, governing body that enforces regulations to keep workers safe. ANSI, which is a nonprofit organization that coordinates the development of voluntary consensus standards. So it's a lot of industry professionals in a group that get together and say, hey, here's the OSHA requirement, here's the OSHA standard. How do we take this, kind of make a gold standard, if you will, of how to come up with equipment, inspect equipment, and general guidance for safety. The specific safety codes that apply to fall protection vary generally. OSHA 1910, we'll talk more in depth about subpart D, but OSHA 1910, it's the requirement that employers need to provide fall protection to all their employees exposed to fall hazards. And then in the ANSI side, it's Z359. So that outlines the proper training that's required to inspect, use, store, maintain fall protection equipment. And it just makes sure that the engineering on fall protection equipment on ladders specifically is done correctly. Great. So ladder update codes. Would love to know, I think you'll get a Q&A question here. What type of fall protection do the fixed ladders at your work sites use? So I just give 30 seconds here for you guys to answer that one. Awesome. Thanks for the input. So not a lot of personal fall arrest systems in the mix so far. Some no cages, and then no fall protection at all, and definitely some cages still in play there. So the OSHA update, that 1910 update. So it was the subpart D that came out. So OSHA hadn't been updated, and the 1910 segment hadn't been updated in maybe 50 years. So what it said was, as of November 19th, 2018, so several years ago, cages are no longer considered an adequate form of fall protection. So I imagine that there are people in attendance that have had a ladder put on their structure or building since 2018, and it may have had a cage on it. I was at a Master Specifiers retreat in Savannah, Georgia a few weeks ago. Definitely spoke with some specifiers, some architects that were actively working on a ladder with a cage in it. So a lot of people don't know that this is a requirement, but any ladder that was built and installed after 2018 should not have had a cage on it. Going forward, all fixed ladders extending over 24 feet must be equipped with a personal fall arrest system. So that is a little different from what it used to be. It used to be that if the ladder is above 20 feet, if it's over 20 feet, you need to have a cage. Now that we've given an extra 4 feet where you don't need quote unquote fall protection there, but after 24 feet, we need a personal fall arrest system there. We'll talk about what a PFAS system is a little bit. And then finally, any ladders installed after 2018, as I mentioned before, must meet the new regulations. Ladders installed prior to the change must be replaced or updated by 2036. So you had a ladder in 2017. That needs to be updated to the new standard by 2036. Quick timeline for everyone. So pre-2017, as I mentioned before, cages are considered compliant. Cages really provide a false sense of security. They don't really effectively prevent falls. You slip, trip, well, you don't trip on a ladder, but you slip on a ladder, you fall on a ladder, you're going down, and that cage, unless you're the perfect size for that cage, isn't necessarily preventing the fall. But it is maybe banging you on the way up, maybe limiting the speed at which you were falling. So some issues that came out of that I'll talk about on the BLS statistics in a moment. So 2017, that OSHA updates that final ruling on 1910 subpart D. Again, newly installed fixed ladders over 24 feet require a fall arrest system. And that November 18th, 2036, that's the deadline to update fixed ladders. So all fixed ladders over 24 feet, new and old, must be up to the new codes. So they give us a decent amount of time to say, hey, this ladder is out of compliance as the rule is written now. We have until 2036 to fix it. 2036 is going to come faster than we think if we don't plan ahead. So ladder safety challenges, kind of why did OSHA update their regulations? Another quick question for everyone. Have you or someone you know experienced a ladder related injury? Okay, so 12% of the folks have had a ladder related injury. So quite a bit. And 35% know someone that has. So almost half of the polled group either has been directly impacted by an injury or knows someone that has. That is a very high statistic. Some other statistics for you guys. This, again, BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, the most recent data we have is from 2020. Ladders are always top 5 from the OSHA top safety violations. The last year in 2024, there were 3, and in 2020, 22,000 non-fatal injuries from ladder, 610 fatalities, 130,000 emergency room visits, $24 billion in expenses. So the question was posed on a slide a couple ago. Why did OSHA update this? A lot of people fall on ladders. Excuse me. A lot of people fall on ladders. A lot of people have injuries on ladders. And it is a huge expense for employees, employers, financially, psychologically. So definitely a issue that needed to be addressed. And OSHA is hoping with this modification to 1910 subpart D that we see all of these numbers decrease substantially. Practical solutions. What can you guys do? That font's off a little bit. Sorry about that. But personal fall arrest systems. So it's abbreviated PFA or PFAS, different type of PFAS that's in the news these days. But it is a system an employer uses to provide fall protection from falling or to safely arrest an employee's fall if one occurs. A PFAS system, a personal fall arrest system, always includes three components. If you're at my other webinar, or you want to, we do it every month. So if you want to do one in the future, we talk about the ABCDs of fall protection. ABC is anchor, body wear, and connector. So that is what is required. Anchor, body wear, and connector. That's what's going to be required of all ladders over 24 feet going forward, that you need all of these three components. The most typical ones that we see out there that we provide, first, you have your self-retracting lanyard. So that's the bubble on the left-hand side. This SRL, typically we're attaching it to some, we're attaching it to some anchor overhead. So we may install some sort of davit system that hangs over a ladder, and we hook a SRL to that. We've incorporated it into other rigid rail systems. And the functionality of this is that you have the SRL, you have a rope with a line on it. The name's escaping me, pardon me. And you pull a tagline. There we go. You pull that tagline down. You connect it to your dorsal D-ring in your back, and then you walk up and down the ladder without any obstructions on the front side of your body. That's in contrast to maybe a rail-based system or a vertical lifeline system. These rail-based or vertical lifeline systems, these are mounted onto the ladder stringers. So this is going to go up and down the ladder with you. You need to ensure that you have a chest D-ring. So some people call it a sternal D-ring, a sternum D-ring. And that's going to allow you to ascend and descend safely. In the event of a fall, something triggers it and it's going to catch you. The vertical lifeline systems are generally using some sort of system that is self-destructing. So it's going to absorb the energy in the event of a fall. A rail-based system, it is connected to more rungs of the ladder. So it's going to dissipate the load more evenly on your ladder. Rail-based systems are better for aluminum ladders when you see rungs that are hollow. Of the three of these systems, the price really varies depending on the application. Not one is better than the other. It just kind of depends on what you're going to use it for. But vertical lifelines is generally going to be the most cost effective for folks. So some important considerations for this personal fall arrest system is we need an anchor point. So first off, we need a qualified person that must verify that the ladder is equipped to absorb the load of a fall. This is the thing that I'm not seeing in the industry generally. So someone goes out on Google and Google's a personal fall arrest system for a ladder. They buy something off the shelf. They have their maintenance team or a professional like us install it. But what's out of scope is those loads in the event of a fall, they need to transfer to the ladder. And then those loads need to transfer from the ladder to the structure or whatever it's mounted to. So if this ladder is not mounted to something robust enough, I've seen screws into aluminum studs on ladders that almost barely hold the weight of the individual. Imagine the forces of a fall being exerted on that ladder as well. The ladder could come off the building, or you could have some issues with damage that the ladder does to the structure. So it is, I think, very important for us to think about, yes, we buy a system, but how do we make sure that we integrate this system into the structure that we have to ensure that in the event of a fall, the system that we bought actually protects the people that we want to. So when we generally do these sorts of things, we can go out in the field and we can look at drawings and we can do engineering analysis of what those loads do to the ladder and the structure. But generally, it's a little more cost effective for us to do the analysis on the ladder and then pass that work off to the engineer of record. So the engineer of record can kind of review and say, hey, this is how this ladder is mounted. This will or will not be appropriate for our building. Pros and cons of this. So there's multiple options. It can be it can be added to pre-existing ladders, and it definitely provides mobility for workers. So cons, we're talking about putting on a harness and using fall protection every time we're climbing a ladder now. So definitely requires additional training. And it might require you guys or companies to swap out the harnesses that they have because you only have a harness with a dorsal D-ring. And that's okay if you're using that SRL with a tagline, but if we're using something like a vertical lifeline system towards the front or a cable system or a rail system on the front, we're definitely going to need that chest D-ring. So requires additional inspection, application of safety gear, as I just mentioned, and ladder might need to be replaced if it can't support the load of a fall. One other thing that we're seeing a lot of is we're seeing just a lot of folks switching to stairs. So getting rid of ladders altogether and going to a stair access to the roof generally. What this is going to do, it's going to increase safety and stability, better load carrying capabilities, reduce worker fatigue, improve accessibility. And I think one of the biggest things that I've seen in site visits is that it's easy egress in emergency situations. So a lot of food and bev facilities or cold storage facilities, they have a ton of ammonia pipes on the rooftop. If they have a leak and they need to get down, or if you're in any explosive environments and there's a fire and you need to get down from the roof quickly, if you need to descend a couple ladders, that can be time consuming. It can be time consuming to tie off correctly, use those vertical lifelines and the front ladder safety systems to get off that roof as quickly as possible. The other thing about stairs is that they're really a passive fall protection solution. So we talk about the hierarchy of fall protection a lot in other webinars and at Edge generally. It goes from most effective to least effective. So most effective being that green eliminate, least effective being administrative towards the bottom. And the arrest is second from the bottom, is the second least effective method of fall protection. That's what these personal fall arrest systems are on ladders. If we switch to a stair, we're talking about a passive, so that's substantially safer, that's substantially more effective than just a personal fall arrest system. Just some design installation requirements. We'll make sure if you work with us or if you work with someone else, just make sure that the OSHA, the stairwell is designed per OSHA requirements. Then pros and cons. So pros, it's easier to use, requires little to no training. I think we all know how to go up and down stairs. Long-term economic benefits, less OSHA violation cited, less risks of injury and settlement. And the cons, they definitely require more space than ladders. They aren't feasible in every situation, and there's a much greater initial investment than adding just a vertical lifeline or SRL to your existing ladders. The price of that putting a fall arrest system on a ladder is relatively insignificant for the off the shelf. But if you look at the engineering costs, if you have to replace the ladder, those costs can get substantially higher. Then it might make sense to investigate into a stair, or if you just want to eliminate some of the training requirements and the concerns about people using or not using the personal fall arrest systems on a ladder. Stairs is a great option as well, but it is stairs anywhere from 20 to 50 times more expensive than than using a personal fall arrest system on your ladder. Great. And I said I wanted to save some time for questions towards the end. So we got about 5 minutes here. Colton, you want to hit me with a few questions from customers, please?
For sure. So the first question we have here is, what is your favorite kind of ladder?
Favorite kind of ladder.
Yeah,
I guess when I don't have to go up, but yeah, I mean stairs are easy, they're simple. Um, steel most ladders that we look at, they're going to be steel, aluminum, fiberglass. It all depends on your application. Aluminum is going to be a little bit lighter, but as I mentioned before, those rungs are generally hollow. So if you're thinking about installing a some sort of personal fall arrest system, again, that system is designed to self-destruct, and it can sometimes collapse the rungs that are on an aluminum ladder. So you would want to make sure that you reinforce those rungs with some sort of, we usually use some sort of threaded rod in a couple different rungs to make sure that it just doesn't completely collapse those rungs. Steel is a great option. It's just going to be a little heavier, and maybe a little more robust on the installation side.
awesome. And you mentioned it during your presentation, but maybe touch on it again. What does OSHA have against cages?
Yeah, they did an analysis, and they looked at what are the benefits of having a cage, how much is it costing. We saw the Bureau of Labor Statistic numbers, so those numbers are large. Ladders are causing a lot of injuries. Um, Ladders with cages are causing a lot of injuries. They're causing a lot of fatalities, and they're costing a lot of money. So in their analysis, they looked at, hey, what's the cost benefit analysis of switching from a cage to some sort of personal fall arrest system, and the personal fall arrest system won out in that analysis. The specifics of that, I don't know, but that's a high level view of it.
Sure. Another question here, and I'll build off of it for you. But what are they going to do with all the cages that have to be thrown away? And I'll add a note to this. And what should people do if they have cages, leading up to 2036?
Yeah, sure. If you have a cage on your ladder already, you don't necessarily need to swap out the ladder entirely. You do need to provide a personal fall arrest system and do some engineering to make sure that the ladder can support the loads in the event of a fall. But you don't need to cut off that cage. There was a letter of interpretation that came out. I don't know how recent it was, maybe 1 or 2 years ago. But it was basically saying you can keep the cages on your ladder that are currently there, if they don't impede the transition or the accessibility of the ladder. So it's not that you have to get rid of your cages. It just means that you need to add a personal fall arrest system to an existing ladder, provided those other things are safe.
Great. Next one here is just to clarify, caged ladders are still being used in situations where the ladder is less than 24 feet in height, but is near a leading edge that could lead to a greater fall. I think that kind of goes with that last one a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I fully understand that, but being used in situations where ladders are less than cages should not be used at all going forward. If the ladder, let's say if the ladder is 21 feet, meaning that in the old standard it needed a cage, but in the new standard it doesn't. It's fine. You can keep the ladder as it is. It doesn't need to, you don't need to add a personal fall arrest system to this. Only on ladders that are over 24 feet. If it has a cage, add the PFAS system. You think I answered that, Colton?
I do. Yeah, I think that should cover it. The next one is, which of the three systems is your favorite and why? I think that's in regards to the ladder fall protection systems styles.
Sure. Yeah. Personal favorite, I'd say the SRL overhead's favorite. Because it keeps nothing's in front of your face. I'm climbing up a lot of ladders with vertical lifeline systems and a cage on it, and that really crunches me. So having the SRL on the back of the dorsal D ring allows just a hands-free up and down of the ladder, and it's an easier transition when you get to the elevated surface. to unhook the snap hook and put it back. Just is a little cleaner than the other two systems.
Awesome. Again, another question here. What about grab bars on the roof at the top of an internal ladder inside a building? So I'm thinking just when would you want grab bars, or does that qualify as any sort of fall protection?
Yeah, certainly. Grab bars on the roof at the top of internal ladder. So that'd be coming through a roof hatch, having some sort of grab bar. I think grab bars are a great idea. It helps the transition from the ladder. We had a training with some of our techs today. I was just talking about the most dangerous parts of a building is going to be the access points. So anytime you're on a ladder, you're going from one elevation to a higher elevation or vice versa. That transition is dangerous. You're exposing yourself to heights. So anything that you can do to make that transition a little easier when you're super exposed is going to be helpful. I love grab bars on roof hatches. We have a roof hatch guardrail that has grab bars included in it that I think works great. We see a lot of ladder up posts on the market. Those can be challenging to use if they're put in the middle of a ladder that's maybe only 20 inches wide. You're really not having a lot of maneuverability in that 10 inches, for example.
Great. This next one is the 24 feet from the walking working surface, or will a platform halfway up breaking up the ladder into two parts be sufficient?
Oh, good question. Yeah, a couple things here. So let's say that you have a platform every 20, let's call it 23 feet. Let's call it 25 feet. You have a platform every 25 feet. So it needs to be a safe transition. So you probably should put like a self-closing safety gate on that platform to restrict access from the ladder to the platform to the next ladder. There's also, we provide a vertical lifeline system that's more of a custom engineered solution, but we can provide a vertical lifeline and we can put a bend in it and then switch it along a platform and then have it continue to go up the next ladder. So I'm not sure if I specifically answered that question, but I think breaking that platform, breaking that large run up should be sufficient to make sure that you wouldn't need fall protection, or we wouldn't need a personal fall arrest system.
Cool. And the next two are kind of similar and something we deal with all the time. How should we handle a situation where an architect wants a cage on a ladder where a PFA is required even after sharing the OSHA requirements? We've already seen this happen a few times. And then the next question is very similar, talking about why are architects not in the loop with new OSHA standards and, bidding projects with ladders and cages.
Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned earlier in this presentation, I was at that master specifiers retreat. Very few people knew that this was a new requirement. Very few of the specifiers knew that there was a difference between IBC and OSHA and that they didn't marry up well. And I think it's just a lack of knowledge. And I don't know why an architect would get provided information and say, no, we're still sticking with a cage. It seems unwise. But I think it's our responsibility. I think it's your responsibility to inform them of what's accurate. If they want to proceed with something that's inaccurate, I guess that's up to them because they have the final say on approving things. But it's taken time, and it's been since 2018 and people are still not aware of this. We're going to have a lot of ladders out of compliance in 2036. I think that's just what's going to happen. And then, but we do have 11 years to, if you have 20 ladders, 50 ladders at your facility, put it in the budget now and say, we're going to knock off 10 a year. We're going to knock off 5 a year, keep chipping away at it. But it does take a concerted effort from multiple parties to get this done.
Great. That is all the questions we have at the moment here.
Okay, awesome. Well, I really appreciate everyone coming. If you do have that AIA number, let us know. That's my QR code. So just connect with me. You can shoot me an email and we'll get you credit for it. Hopefully this was valuable. I know I went a little over time. But if you have any other questions, just feel free to reach out to myself or anyone else on the team, and we're happy to help you out. So have a great afternoon, everyone, and we'll catch you later. We'll do a webinar next month if you're interested. So take care.